88 nays, the amendment fails. Are there any additional amendments to the bill? Recognizing the gentleman from Southern Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Got an amendment at the desk. Oh, geez. Amendment 143-823/1.
Amendment number 1.
So my concern overwhelmingly.
Delegate, so much we consider the reading of the amendment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't see the amendment, so I was having all kinds of. So, thank you. So be considered reading of the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I apologize to the body for that. I probably should bring my glasses next time. Overwhelmingly, my concern is for the mom and pop landlords out there. So much of our rural areas, like where I represent in St. Mary's, the mom and pops that have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses make the overwhelming percentage of the rental market out there. And one of the reasons why we're facing a housing shortage and skyrocketing rent is because we've made their lives miserable the last couple of years. And it's a real shame. So, as a real estate professional, if you look at the Maryland State contract that every realtor utilizes, on page 3, it lists what type of financing you are going to receive and whether you're going to ask for inspections. This bill here requires the landlord to offer up inspections and may not put any conditions on financing. We are taking a right that every seller in the state has and putting an exclusion just on landlords. That isn't right. So I would hopefully ask the committee to take this as a friendly amendment.
Floor leader?
No.
Shocking.
Thank you.
Please elaborate.
Yes, I shall. As I'm sure you are aware with the legislation, we are attempting again to get more of the tenants in the state of Maryland to obtain housing because of the shortage. This is an equity issue. And so what we're trying to do is trying to make sure that we have as many persons that can purchase a home the opportunity to do so. I'm not sure how your amendment is going to assist in that equity issue. I'm not quite sure how you expect that landlords are being shortcut in this process, because they are not. The landlords who offer the properties for sale, as you are well aware, when a landlord is there, you want to sell the property, you've got to get turnover, you've got to get, if you hire someone like myself, you got a 6% commission. If you got a landlord in there, you're good to go. So, no on the amendment, Mr.
Okay, that was about as clear as mud. I know you, Mr. Floor Leader, to be a real estate professional. Can you tell me in the contract, and I know you've done plenty of legislation on the Maryland State contract, can you tell me why every seller in the state can use this contract and decide whether they want to take conventional financing or FHA or USDA? Why every seller can elect to accept the contract with inspections, but now you're telling landlords they cannot. Why is that?
Mr. Speaker.
Floor leader.
In this particular piece of legislation, again, this is a concept where we are giving an opportunity for landlords, for tenants to obtain their housing. The inspection process that the gentleman is speaking about in this particular amendment is not relevant to that particular scenario. I would ask that you reject this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman, the maker of the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is absolutely relevant because it's in the bill. This is your bill. And it's in there that you're taking the right away for sellers to decide the type of financing and whether they're getting home inspections. And the reason why it's in the Maryland state contract, and you know this, Mr. Floor Leader, is because sellers can be hurt if they don't have that information. They make that decision. So as a real estate professional, if you have a cash offer, you're going to take a cash offer, you're going to take, an offer that requires all type of appraisals. Which one you taking? We all know the decision on that. We know the decision on that. What I'm saying, I can't believe in the year 2024, we're sitting in the Maryland General Assembly arguing over a bill that requires your tenant's permission to sell your home. Thomas Jefferson be rolling over in his grave. Mr. Speaker, not belaboring the point anymore, this is a common sense amendment that is afforded to every home seller in this state. I don't know why landlords would be excluded from that. With that, I move the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
On the amendment, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Noes have it. Roll call. The clerk will take the roll.
Ms. Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 90 votes in the negative, the amendment fails. Are there any additional amendments? Gentleman from Southern Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Amendment at the desk. Amendment 953528/1.
Amendment number 1.
So be considered reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
So we just have a vigorous debate on whether to remove the restriction of financing and inspections. There's also another portion on this bill, if you want to look at page 10, deals with if you accept a third-party offer on selling your home, if the offer is more than 10% less than the sales price, you have to start this whole process over again and get the approval of your tenant to sell your home. That's crazy because 10% in the real estate world on negotiated contracts is nothing. You have a 6% realtor fee, as the floor leader just said. What happens if you get a sales price of $300,000 for a house and from your tenant and a third party $300,000, but they require you to pay 3.5% closing costs? Well, now you're out some more money. So look, this amendment basically changes that 10% from sales price to the net. Because in real estate, that's what matters, is your net payment to the seller. Any real estate professional would go up there and say, what do you want to sell your house for? They'll do you a net sheet of your expected proceeds from the sale. Deal 1 from the tenant, deal 2 from the third party. If it's more than 10%, we live with the bill. If it's not, well, then you're back to square one. I move the amendment.
Mr. Speaker, I shall be brief. The way the legislation is written, it offers the tenant to match the price within the negotiation process. That's what it does. Reject this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Floor Leader.
Make the amendment.
Mr. Floor Leader, can I answer your question on your legislation here?
Floor leader.
I believe on that amendment, I don't have the bill in front of me, but I know you know this bill really well. Does it not say sale price?
To answer the gentleman's question, it does say sales price, which is totally different than net proceeds.
So let me give you an example. If you had a house, $300,000, deal 1 from the tenants, $300,000, but you got to pay 3.5% closing costs plus realtor's fees, and they're not going to split your transfers and recordations, you're well over that 10% threshold. If you had another price come in at $300,000, you would net more, but now you're required to go check with your seller again. That's exactly right.
In the legislation, it talks about sales price, as my mom would say, period, dot. We're not going through all these other processes about net proceeds and all the other items that you're talking about. Closing cost, price, that's it. If the offer is rejected, if the offer is less than 10%, like you said, then the whole thing stops. So no, thank you.
Maker of the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I mean, this is getting to be like a Saturday Night Live skit right now. Because, I mean, when you talk about sales price on a home, there's a lot of different factors. You have transfers and recordation. You have realtors' fees. You have loan costs. You have repair costs. There is a whole slew of how much you would actually net. And when you're comparing one deal to the next, you have to look at the net proceeds. Nobody even looks at the sales price because guess what? You never get it. This makes so much sense on a piece of legislation that I tell you, we're not really thrilled about. And I guarantee you when people in the public find out about it, they weren't going to be as thrilled about it either. So with that, I'll move the amendment, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for indulging me.
On the amendment, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Noes have it. Roll call. The clerk will take the roll.
Ms. Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their votes? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 88 votes in the negative, the amendment fails. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Gentleman from Eastern Shore.